Hey y'all. So this is my favorite playoff matchups, potential playoff matchups, that I think would make the best storylines and I'd be most excited to watch. We're, about a month and a half away from the playoffs, so I was looking at the playoff picture, thinking about what would be cool to see. So I'll start off with my top potential wild card slash divisional round storylines. So first, I'll start off with the AFC. The Bills Chiefs. In parentheses, I have seeds where I think this would be most likely. Though the Bills and Chiefs, I think more likely will play in the championship round. But I weirdly think, both as wild cards if they ever play each other in playoffs. So I think it would be as wild cards in the championship round, who somehow make it as a 6 and 7 seed combo, which would be pretty cool. But I weirdly think this would be a better wild card matchup, which would need the would need the Patriots to collapse for the Bills to win the division. But it would be an insane wild card matchup. Just the idea of these two teams, once again meeting in the playoffs, but this time in the first round, would be really cool. I think so. That's my first one. Broncos Bills. I like this one a lot because it's just a rematch of last year, but the seeds are reversed. Last year the Bills were the two seed. They blew out the 7 seed Broncos. But what's cool about this one is the seeds are reversed, which is cool. It's a cool storyline. And on top of that, these teams I feel like are a lot closer this year. Was just shows how much closer all the teams are in both playoff brackets. If you look at NFC and AFC, like both of them, like the whole really the NFC, I think teams are farther apart. Like I think the Rams and the Eagles are a lot better than teams that are competing for the 6 and 7 seed. But in the AFC, they're all pretty close. So I think we're gonna have a really good playoffs with potentially a lot of upsets. I think this could be a year where we see a 6 or 7 seed team in the Super Bowl, which is pretty rare and would be pretty cool. Ravens Chargers. I just like this one a lot. Lamar's first playoff game was a 4-5 Chargers Ravens matchup, so it would be cool, for him to have another one of those. And I just think these quarterbacks would be entertaining to watch against each other. These teams would be cool to play each other. Guaranteeing one of them in a divisional round, I think would be really fun. For the NFC, Seahawks Vikings. This one's growing increasingly rare. Not only do I think it would be tough for the Seahawks to win the division, but I don't think the Vikings are going to make the playoffs. But if they go on a run, and the Seahawks do too, a 2-7 Sam Darnold revenge game matchup would be very entertaining. So I'm kind of rooting for this one a little bit. It was more likely a couple weeks ago when I started making this list. But the Vikings have lost a bunch since then, and it seems unlikely. But this one would be an amazing storyline, especially considering for it to happen, the Vikings would have to go on a cool run. It'd have all the storylines about JJ McCarthy being the right replacement, letting go of Sam Darnold, but seems very unlikely. Panthers Bears. I like this one a lot. Bryce Young versus Caleb Williams. Both teams were not supposed to make the playoffs this year, and if they do, this could be a very intriguing first round matchup that I would very much like to watch. Bears versus Packers. The idea of the Bears Packers rivalry, meeting in the playoffs again, for the first time in a long time, really, because the Bears have been so bad. But with the Bears as a 3 seed is just really entertaining to me. So I'd like to watch this one. I think it would be fun. And then for the championship games, uh, by the way, with all the seeding in the brackets, that's just what I think would be the most likely way for these teams to match up. But they're like that doesn't really matter. It's just how I think it would happen with the seeding. So for the AFC for championship games, I think there's a reality where we have Patriots Chiefs in the AFC Championship. The Patriots would need to be a 2 seed, and the 2 seed would be a 6 seed. I think would be the most likely way for this to happen because then the 6 seeded Chiefs would play the 1 seed after they beat the 3 seed in the first round, and the Patriots would play like the 5 or 4 seed, and then they would match up in the championship game. This would be crazy because it's in the same way that like we had Patriots Chiefs as Mahomes, first AFC Championship with the Patriots winning. Another kind of changing of the guard possibly if Drake May wins this one. It would be a very kind of fun media week I think for a lot of us fans, but also like I think people would be sick of it too in a weird way. Like this would just cause a bunch of people to be like, come on, like we finally have like so much kind of parity in the NFL and it's just Patriots Chiefs again. That'd be kind of funny. Not what I'm particularly rooting for. Ravens Bills. Sorry, I don't know why it says Bills would be the 7 and the actually, yeah, this probably would be how it goes down. Um, because, yeah, because then the Bills would play the 2 seed in the first round and then the 1 seed in the second round after the Ravens play the 3 seed. So Yeah, Ravens Bills AFC Championship game would just be really fun to watch. I think, uh, knowing that one of those teams make the Super Bowl for the first time in the Lamar, Josh Allen era, I think this would be one of my favorite AFC Championship game storylines, and I'm personally would love to watch this one. I think a lot of people would. I think it would have insanely good ratings, and just for like actual fans, we would just have a blast. I mean, this was the first match of the season on Sunday Night Football, and it was, or Monday Night Football was it? I don't remember, but it was electric. It was so good. The Bills come back, and I'd love to watch them play again. You know, before the Super Bowl, and then Ravens Chargers for the AFC Championship. Oh wait, no, this is okay. This is just okay. I accidentally put it as the same one as earlier, so I mean, it would be a cool AFC Championship game. I didn't realize I accidentally uh, just copied it from the last page, but yeah, that's a mistake on my end. But I mean, I do like that matchup though. And then for the NFC, I think a one-seeded Rams versus a two-seeded Lions would be an incredible NFC Championship game. Uh, you know, even for the AFC Championship, you could just replace that with like Colts Patriots 1-2. Like I think that would be great. You know, I want to mention three for each, so that'll be my one for that one. Even Broncos Patriots, Broncos Colts, any combination of those would feel very classic and very exciting. So anyway, Rams Lions is just the classic Stafford Goff, you know, who won the trade matchup. And we had it in the playoffs a couple years back, but it would be fun to do it again. And I think these teams are always going to be tied together, and this is a very plausible matchup. Buccaneers Seahawks is one I really like. This is how I see it most likely happening in terms of seeding, but they had a really amazing game in like week 4 or 5 or something, and Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield again always tied together. I feel like with how similar their career trajectories have been ever since they were drafted in the same year. They're both having their resurgences. They're both really exciting. Obviously, Sam Darnold is doing a lot better now. Is a lot more consistent than Baker has been, even though they were both kind of front runners for MVP earlier on. But I really like this matchup for an NFC Championship game. Seahawks Packers, I like as like they'll probably do it as wild cards, which is always exciting if they get there. Assuming the Rams continue their stranglehold in the division, but the Packers could still win the division. I don't want to count them out, but yeah, this would be pretty cool for me. Very retro. These teams played in the playoffs before in some famous matchups, so I think it'd be a cool championship game. So moving on to Super Bowls, Lions Bills. This one would be incredible, and we were all rooting for it last year. I think we got Chiefs Eagles instead, which was kind of disappointing. Neither team has won a Super Bowl. The Bills lost 4 in a row. The Lions never even made it. This would be hype. This would be really, really good. And I think it would be high scoring. I think it'd be entertaining. I think it's a long time coming, so please, oh my God, can we get Lions Bills? Chargers Buccaneers, this is the one I'm personally rooting for. Gunslingers, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Chargers Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, sorry, not Josh Allen. These are my 2 favorite quarterbacks that are going to be in the playoffs, so this is just what I'm rooting for. I think it'd be entertaining, especially because neither of them are favorites coming in. So it'd be a pretty exciting playoff, Super Bowl appearance for both teams. Yeah, and the Chargers have never won one. Wait, I don't think the Chargers have won one. Maybe they have, and I'm forgetting. But either way, it hasn't happened in a long time if it has. So this would be fun. I'd love to watch this one. This is one I'm rooting for personally, so that's why I put it here, because these are just some teams I really like. Ravens Lions, similar to Bills Lions. This one would be super fun to watch. They played earlier this year. It was a pretty exciting game. The Lions upset the Ravens. I would just love to watch this. Yeah, again, I just think these are just fun teams to watch. And, teams who have been on the outside of the Super Bowl while also being contenders for a couple years that are just due for a really, good game in the Super Bowl. Steelers-Rams I put here because it's the oldest quarterbacks that would be in the playoffs. So it could kind of be like a changing of the guard, like, this is the last time we'll see these quarterbacks play, possibly. They both might retire soon. So, not necessarily rooting for Aaron Rodgers to make the Super Bowl. He's not my favorite player. He's a little, all over the place. But this would be funny, for old quarterbacks to make it in a year where, running the football, having a mobile quarterback is so important and all that stuff. This would be pretty fun. Patriots-Bears. I like this one a lot as a 2 quarterbacks, I believe from the same draft class, young quarterbacks in their second year, rising to new heights and taking their teams to the playoffs. Both these teams are, what are they, 8-3 and 10-2, like doing incredible this year. So if they both made the Super Bowl, I think it would be another one of those quick turnarounds, kind of like Joe Burrow getting the Bengals from the number one overall pick to the Super Bowl in 2 years. Having that on both sides would just be super cool. So this would be an awesome one in my opinion. Rams versus Patriots. I like this one a lot also as just like the two MVP candidates this year. So the first, I think Stafford is first in odds, and then Drake May is like right behind him in second. Maybe it's a little bit more of a gap after last week, but this one would be very fun for that exact reason. We got the best quarterback play this year playing against each other. So pretty simple, would be pretty cool. And then Colts versus Eagles. This is kind of a Giants fan in me who's just like, oh, so our former star running back versus our former failed quarterback, both, taking their teams to new heights. And obviously Saquon won it last year, but this would be kind of like a ex-Giants matchup. Another potential storyline in this is Shane Steichen used to be an offensive coordinator on the Eagles, so possibly not really a revenge game because they didn't let go of him. He chose to become a head coach because he did so good on their team. But this would just be exciting. Also, the Eagles have one of the best defenses. The Colts have one of the most productive offenses. So I think this would be an entertaining game all around, though. I think in general, people are kind of sick of watching the Eagles, and maybe it's just the Giants fan in me who's sick of watching the Eagles in the Super Bowl and like the Chiefs. That's why I didn't even have the Chiefs on here, because none of those Chiefs matchups I think would be all that good. Obviously, there's rematches that are possible, but not interested in watching them, to be honest. I think we're all sick of the Chiefs. So anyway, these are my favorite potential playoff matchups. Let me know if I forgot any in the comments that you were really rooting for, or what your favorites are. But anyway, thanks for watching.